Welcome to Game On, the show that brings you everything you want to know about high school football in Bucks and Montgomery Counties, coming to you from the Courier-Times and the Intelligencer. I'm your host, Jen Wielgus. I'm here with video reporter Mark Zimmaro, sports editor Jeff Hollenbach, writer Drew Markle, and filling in for the vacationing Dan Duncan this week is a new face on our panel, who's certainly no stranger to our newspaper readers, Mr. Kevin Cooney. Well, I'm psyched that it's week 6 because we have some really big games to talk about. There's Archbishop Wood, St. Joe's Prep, Abington, Pennsbury, and CB East, CB West. But I don't want to steal all the thunder from our 4 Down segment, so guys, let's get right to first down. Typically, I ask you what are the biggest games this week, but I think it's more appropriate to ask how big is St. Joe's Prep Archbishop Wood on Saturday night?
See, Jen, I think for Wood, it's not as big as everybody would think because of the fact that, look, they'll be the top seed in AAA. They're going to be everybody's favorite to win AAA. And they'll move on, and I think it's not a big deal no matter what happens with this game. I think, though, if you look at St. Joe Prep, you know, they have LaSalle the following week, so you want to see how much of an injury toll is taken there. And also the other thing is they've had trouble in big spots with state magnitude type games. How do they handle this? So I don't think it's as big a deal as everybody's making it out to be. I know I'm the wet blanket on this panel though.
The playoffs have taken a lot of the luster off of regular season matchups because so many teams make the playoffs. But this game is huge. This was circled on the calendar back in July when the schedules went out. You're talking about the number 1 ranked 4A team in the state playing the number 2 ranked 3A team in the state, and it's in southeastern Pennsylvania. This is the biggest game in the state in the regular season, maybe all year.
I agree. Kev, you've been here for about a minute, and I missed Dan already. But this game for Wood especially, being a 3A, being ranked second, they've got a chance to knock off. They don't like being ranked second in AAA. They think they're the best. I think they are too, but they're ranked second. They got a chance to knock off the Quad A team that's ranked first. Steve Devlin, the Wood coach, gets to play against his old, coach against his old team too. Enormous game for Wood.
Did it make a difference, though, for Wood when they lost to Pittsburgh Central Catholic the year they won the state title and were consensus the best team in the state, no matter what?
That was the first game of the season when they lost that game.
I don't think it's that big a deal.
At this point, there's bragging rights, there's Catholic League bragging rights, there's area bragging rights, there's state bragging rights. Huge.
All right. Despite this great debate, not everybody out there is going to the Prep Wood game, and I know there's some other games on the schedule this week worth talking about, so have at it.
A game you might not have thought of is Central Bucks East, Central Bucks West. I think this is a really big game for the Bucks. Their upset win over Pennridge last week vaulted them right into the Continental Conference title debate. It also pushed them way up in terms of the district playoff debate. And to be honest with you, this is a game that CB West has to win if they want to be serious contenders.
I'll take the National Conference, and the biggest game in the National Conference this week is clearly Pennsbury and Abington. You look at Pennsbury, coming in, they've only lost to Easton in week 1, played really well, really seem to be on a roll at this point. Abington 5-0 coming in, but going to probably have to do it without Anthony Lee, the quarterback who is out for the rest of the season. Craig Reynolds, there's some question about whether he'll be available. I think it's a huge statement game for the way the rest of the National will go, with both teams still having the Chamonix up ahead.
And let's not forget about CB South and North Penn. Huge implications in the Continental. North Penn starts 0-3. They're 2-0 in the Continental, and they're starting to roll a little bit, so that's a big one too.
Well, Jeff mentioned CB West beating Pennridge last week. Nobody on the panel, not even Blake, saw that one coming. When you look at the schedule this week, do you see the potential for similar surprises?
I'm not sure if I see it necessarily an upset, but I think one of the games that could be a surprise is going to be Southampton and Pennridge. You're seeing a Pennridge team a little wounded that after what happened against West last week has not gotten off to great starts in games. And now they're playing a Southampton team that's 0-5, okay, but has played well in a lot of their non-league games, has been battling through some injuries. I want to see how Pennridge handles this. I think Southampton can keep it close for a long time.
Lansdale Catholic better be very, very careful this week. They're playing a Bonner Prendergast team that is 1-4, but they are much better than 1-4. They played a very difficult schedule. They've done very well with that difficult schedule in terms of keeping games close. And the big thing for LC is, in 2 weeks, you're looking at Archbishop Wood. This could be one of those squeeze games where they get caught looking ahead.
Jen, I don't have an upset for you, but I look at 2 games, Hatboro Horsham at Quakertown and William Tennant at Ben Salem. Those are 2 good games. Those should be close. You wouldn't be shocked either way. But, for those teams, there's a chance to get a win.
Well, as mentioned earlier, CB East takes on CB West on Friday night at War Memorial Field. Now, this is an old school rivalry that dates back way before our time, but let's talk about the rivalry now. Is it still a really big deal?
No way it is. Not much at all. I look at my flip phone. My phone says it'll be October 4th when those teams are playing. They should be playing at the end of November on Thanksgiving. Then it becomes much bigger. You look at games like Pennridge, Quakertown, Bristol, Morrisville, Upper Moreland, Hatboro on that day. Those are big games. This one is just in the middle of the regular season.
And I think the other thing that's kind of taken something away from that game was the introduction of CB South. You had two teams for years that were going back and forth. It was a big rivalry. It was one of the games of the year. CB South comes in, and to be honest with you, it just doesn't work as a threesome as well as it did with a twosome and the two of them battling it out.
Plus, if you look at it, both teams are not consistent playoff teams every year, which added to the lure of that being a huge game when Larry Green and Mike Pettit were on the sideline. Look, the best rivalry game in this area is Neshaminy-Pennsbury. It's the last week of the season, and it's usually with something on the line. Playoff berths for one, perhaps a conference title for the other. There's no doubt in my mind that's become the biggest game. Having East and West not on Thanksgiving has taken something away from that rivalry, too.
Kev brings up an interesting point, though. It's the playoffs. They've really had a bad effect on a lot of these really good in-season rivalry games. They're just not as important. And the playoffs are to blame, whether you like them or not. That's the reason.
I wouldn't even say bad effect. I use the word ruined. Ruined of these rivalry games. The Neshaminy-Pennsbury should be played on Thanksgiving. It never has been. They play it on Thanksgiving. You'll have a huge crowd.
Both those teams are playing for something bigger around Thanksgiving.
The bigger is a relative. It depends who you ask, Kevin, about, you lost to a team you never heard of, or you lost to your longtime rival, or you beat your longtime rival.
Well, in this week's Coach's Corner segment, we talked to Pennridge coach Jeff Hollenbach about rallying his Rams from their first loss of the season and getting them back on track in pursuit of a second straight SOL Continental title.
Well, first of all, I think that this team cares. So their pain, their emotional pain, from the weekend was very obvious. We actually had one player out here Saturday after the game that was on this field hitting a sled all by himself. Focus on practice today has been really good. So, I think they learned, that we need more focus. We did not have a good week of practice last week, and it showed up in some of the little things that we did on Friday night. So I'm hoping we've learned those things. I think it's great. This is Bucks Mon football from the old days as far as I'm concerned, and I love it. When I coached before, we didn't have much of that. So we were playing in the league we're going to play in next year. So this thing with West and East and Southampton and South and all that, and North Penn, I think is just terrific. I love it. And who knows how it's going to play out. We, kind of shot ourselves in the foot on Friday night in terms of that record thing. But, I think we'll come back ready to play on Friday night. And it really does need, even though it sounds a little cliche, it really does need to be week to week. He's getting a lot of attention. There were a number of schools, UMass, University of Rhode Island is interested. The Naval Academy has expressed interest. He was up at Lehigh. So there's a lot of people looking at him. The coaches I'm talking to, I'm saying, at that level, I think he's a steal. I think he would just be great at that level. And those guys are involved in their seasons right now. So I think it'll be probably a December invite, that kind of thing. Southampton, I'm saying is the best winless team in the state. They're an excellent team. I know those coaches, and they will have their guys ready to play. And if we take them lightly, we're not going to win Friday night either.
Throughout the season, our video reporter Mark Zimmaro has been traveling the area, checking in with homegrown talent making a difference in college. Let's see where he went this week.
This week I took a drive down I-95 to the University of Delaware to catch up with Tenet grad Sean Boehner. Sean Boehner hadn't even kicked a football until he started playing at William Tenet High School. Now he's one of the nation's top all-around kickers. He credits his time at Tenet, which put him on the right track.
Biscayne did a great job of helping me out, and what it did is just, it showed me what teamwork was all about, because I didn't start playing football really until high school, so I wasn't really sure of the process or anything like that.
Prior to the season, Boehner was named to College Football Performance Award watch list as one of the top place kickers in the country.
Really hit my stride my sophomore year, summer coming in. I trained really hard. I was the backup place kicker, and I really wanted to be a starter. And I kicked off freshman year. But sophomore year during the summer workouts, no matter what, I was kicking every day, just working on my form, and luckily it paid off for me, and it's still paying off today.
Entering the season, Boehner was perfect on PATs and had a 77% career accuracy on field goals. Boehner said his personal goals during his senior year take a back seat to the Blue Hens' drive for success, starting with this week's tough game at the University of Maine.
I'm not so worried about how I do. I want this team to do good. This team, this is the closest team I've been on while being here. And, like Coach always says, this is a family, and together we will. And I'm really hoping we go deep into the playoffs. The first goal is, to beat Maine, and then after that, I'm just hoping to go to playoffs and hopefully make it to the national championship game like we did in 2010.
And staying within that theme of local college athletes, the University of New Hampshire defense has experienced anchors on that side of the ball in Jay Colbert, a Neshaminy graduate, and Cody Muller, a Souderton grad, who both enjoyed breakout seasons as juniors. Muller, who tied for the team lead last season with 4 sacks and 2 fumble recoveries, caused and recovered a fumble on Saturday in a 34-27 loss to Lehigh. Through 3 games for the Wildcats, Muller has 12 tackles with 2.5 sacks and 3 tackles for loss. Colbert has 7 total tackles and 1 tackle for loss. If you're a regular in the stands at high school football games, you've probably noticed an extra young person, or 2 or 3, walking out to the center of the field for the pregame coin flips, wearing medals and holding hands with the leaders of the team. These honorary captains have become an integral part of high school sports in Bucks and Montgomery Counties, thanks to the Athletes Helping Athletes organization, which is the subject of this week's Off the Field feature story.
Newtown's Peter Brill still remembers how he felt 11 years ago on the night he served as the very first Athletes Helping Athletes honorary captain at a Council Rock North football game.
Perfect. Great.
Their names were announced on the loudspeaker. They had medals and special shirts. And of course, he was thrilled out of his mind to be part of this group that he loved anyway. The football team is his second home.
Since Peter's emotional debut, the Athletes Helping Athletes organization, created as a way to integrate Special Olympics athletes into varsity high school sports, has grown by leaps and bounds. Founder Rick Leonetti has watched AHA expand from just 1 school and 1 football team in 2002 to 21 schools and multiple sports, and touched the lives of countless community members through the honorary captain program and other endeavors.
It's been incredible. The past 2 years especially, when we first started this, we thought this would be a great thing for the special needs kids, and it is. It raises their self-esteem. It's been tremendous in that aspect. If you ask any parent, in fact, I get emails all the time how some kids come out of their shell because they're involved and included in something so typical as a football game or basketball. But what we didn't realize is what it does to the volunteers.
It actually benefited the mainstream athletes even more than the special athletes, because they started to realize that there's nothing scary about these people that are in the special ed classes. They're amazing. They're funny. They're fun to be with. And so here, through the rest of their lives, they'll know that.
A little boy came up to me, hugged me, and he was like, "I love having you here. This makes me so happy." And it just warms your heart. If I'm having a problem at home or something, and then I go there, it makes you think not even about anything else, and you just think about them and how happy they are.
I met this kid, Matt Beckman, who was 19 at the time, and we talked to him, and he pretty much just started crying when Rick asked him about if he wants to be an honorary captain. He just got really emotional and said that would be the best thing and a dream come true. It made me really realize that appreciate the little things in life rather than the big things.
Athletes Helping Athletes is holding an Orange Out fundraiser on Friday night in Newtown as Council Rock North plays host to Neshaminy. If you're planning to attend, wear orange to show your support for special needs kids and their athletic endeavors. Before heading away on vacation, Dan enjoyed a rare week as top dog of our expert panel. His pick of CB East to beat Hatboro Horsham was the difference in his 4-1 record and the 3-2s turned in by Drew and Jeff. Dan's not here to gloat, but he did send me his picks for this week. We've got 5 new games. The first is Pennsbury at Abington. Dan likes the Falcons. What do you guys think?
It bothers me to agree with Dan, but Abington's just too beat up. I've got to go with Pennsbury.
Yeah, the injury to Craig Reynolds really for Abington is a big question mark. I got to go with Pennsbury.
If Abington wasn't so banged up, I would have gone with Abington, but I've got to go with Pennsbury.
Okay, next is Council Rock South at Harry S. Truman.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dan is going with Truman.
Okay, well, see, I feel better now because I'm going to go with Council Rock South. Again, you can almost call this one in the air.
Yeah, it's a 50-50 game, but I'll go with Truman on this one. I think Truman a little bit better at this point than Castle Rock South.
I hate to agree with Dan, but at this one's Truman.
CB East at CB West. Dan's liking the Bucks of CB West.
If CB West has any hopes of making the playoffs, they have to win this game.
If you look at CB West, I think the best thing that can happen to them is playing a neighborhood rival after a big game like last week. I think CB West, against the big win over Pennridge, I think they win this week.
The jolt of confidence that West got by beating Pennridge was huge. I go with West.
The next one is North Penn at CB South. Dan's got North Penn. Somebody please tell me you picked CB South to win this game.
Well, Jen, it's not getting boring without Dan, but I got to go with North Penn. You know, they're starting to get things going. CB South has to do more than just having Josh Adams run. Dick Beck, the coach of North Penn, will take that away. I like North Penn here to go 3-0 in the conference.
Is Dan vacationing at the Brandon McElwain quarterback camp? So back to this game, though. I think Adams. This is the type of game that Adams really has performed well in. Big game, big spot. I'll take South.
North Penn has no room left for error. North Penn has to win this game. Going North Penn.
All right, last, we need some debate, and I think this will get us. Prep at Wood.
Archbishop Wood, definitely. I think St. Joe's Prep is vulnerable to balls in the air. They've given up a lot of points so far this year. I think Wood can throw it a little bit. I'm going with Wood.
I think the one thing that I'm picking Prep in this game. I think you look at DeAndre Swift for Prep, and you look at Chris Martin. I think they're big factors in this. I think Prep wins a squeaker.
Wood has not had to play 4 quarters all season. They're going to run behind Ryan Bates all night. They're going to play those 4 quarters, and they're going to win by 2 touchdowns.
Well, this will make you happy. Dan picked Prep. Let's see what Blake had to say.
Blake had some sleepless nights trying to chase down last week's pick that got away as Pennridge suffered a loss on Blake's watch. He spent this week boning up on his high school football knowledge, ready to get back on the winning track. This week's game is between St. Joe's Prep and Archbishop Wood. We placed a treat in each of Blake's dog bowls and built a bridge across each one, which will once again be heavily protected by armed guards. This time, Blake is going with the Vikings of Archbishop Wood.
Well, that's our show for this week. We remind you to check out the Courier-Times and the Intelligencer, both online and in print this weekend, for full local football coverage. And get in touch with us on Facebook and Twitter at HSGameOn. I'm Jen Wielgus. For the entire Game On team, thank you so much for watching this episode. To all you fans out there, we wish you an exciting weekend of football. To our coaches and players, good luck and game on.